Hello everyone. Today's reading is from the Bazerman text, Chapter 5, Changing the Landscape, Kairos, Social Facts and Speech Acts, pages 65 through 75. Throughout this chapter, we will summarize the situation, how a writer is able to influence a situation, social facts, speech acts and speech act theory, and explore kairos and exigency in face-to-face language and through intertext. To get started, motive embodies a desire or need to change a situation. The writer sees the need to get something done, the opportunity, and the means to do so. Situation only takes shape due to a perception of exigency. Exigency is the urgent need or demand. For example, many of us don't notice a lot in our daily lives, only the things we see as urgent or meaningful. Therefore, any unseen or unperceived thing generates no situation for action. This conscious awareness of a given situation plants the seed of motive and action, whereas the perception of the same situation will bring the possibility of action. For a writer to be successful, the perceptions created must be accountable to various material and social conditions, meaning that if the writer isn't able to convey the urgency of their situation, then listeners only perceive the words as untimely foolishness, as Bazerman states. In contrast, if the audience shares prior material or social experiences, then this allows them to see the framing of the situation as common sense. Skilled writers can show more effective situational reframing and even influence judgment. This only happens by being aware of experiences, perceptions, and the potential of the situation. Bazerman explains social facts as those things that because people believe are true, are therefore true in their consequences. In order to influence an audience using language, we must first evaluate and select different forms of action, as well as align with certain conditions called social facts, meaning a condition of society that affects the behavior or attitudes of an individual member of that society. Certain acts of language create these social facts, changing how people view themselves and the world around them. However, before language can become a social fact, it must first qualify as a successful speech act. The theory of speech acts makes the statement that words do things, due to their shared understanding between individuals. These acts can also change the reality of future use of the piece of language through the shared meaning by the listeners. The theory states that the way this happens is through the piece of language meeting certain conditions for success. These conditions are called felicity acts. Felicity acts deal in part with external conditions, such as location and authority. They also govern how the phrase is realized and interpreted by both speaker and listener. For this, Bazerman uses the example of a wedding ceremony. Thus, speech acts develop concept and mechanism that allow words to have influence on situations, create new social facts, and change our beliefs, interactions, and actions. Face-to-face spoken language, environment, and social relationships lend to add concreteness to rhetorical moments, explaining what is going on in a situation. Social and material conditions that are observable or visible aid in shared social facts. They do this by orienting our focus onto the situation at hand. Written communication can also contain some of the same immediate circumstances as face-to-face language does, such as text. The only difference is writer and reader are typically not visible to each other, but it doesn't always detach the writer or reader from the situation surrounding them. As stated in Chapter 4, intertext is the relationship among texts and its formation of a separate domain, within which text can act. Intertext itself is able to become the scene of action, by becoming an area where the writer is able to perceive exigency and imperfection, such as newspaper articles. the formation of kairos has occurred within the world of intertext gradually. Today, text strongly mediates our present experience. For example, we no longer settle land disputes by simply building a fence. Rather, we enter into a complicated, intertextual process through the legal system, acquiring deeds, registration, and other documents. This world offers difficulties in the identification of rhetorical moments. We are now less likely to experience emotional moments in front of us that spawn writing. However, exigency devices in today's world, such as essay deadlines, are worth understanding, in order to understand our options for action and mobilize them to assemble what Bazerman calls virtual kairos. To finish off, I leave with one last quote from Bazerman. Literacy has facilitated the development of a virtual world of the intertext, and the intertext itself can become the scene of action.